Dr. Benson, what is your vision for Wallop?
First and foremost, Waller TSU Preparatory Academy is an institution wherein students have an opportunity to grow and learn. Um, it is very important that in the 6th through 8th grade levels that students understand that they don't necessarily have to have their lives mapped out. And we are here to provide some guideposts, some interesting curriculum, engaging instructional activities, and just a place of safety and one in which students feel that they can become whoever they want to be, whether that is a scientist or an artist or an athlete or all of the above. My vision for Wallop is that at some point we grow so that we're not just serving the TSU community, but we're also serving several other college communities. So we have a Wallop TSU, we will have a Wallop St. Thomas, a Wallop U of H, and so forth. And in so doing, stay connected with the institutions of higher education so that students can continue to envision themselves as part of a larger community of college students.
Okay. How do you balance your time between the two campuses?
That is really tricky. Thank goodness I have a very good administrator on the girls' campus, Ms. Muhammad. She's the program coordinator for the school. And presently we have a rotating schedule. We'll spend certain days on the respective campuses just to make sure that there's consistency in instruction and discipline management, and that the students feel as though they have a larger group of adults with whom they are establishing meaningful relationships. And so that is very difficult, though, I will admit. I did not anticipate that so many challenges will come with trying to be an administrator for two campuses, but it is also very rewarding because I get to see the firsthand some differences in the ways that young ladies learn or adapt to the learning environment and the way that young men do. So it's difficult to balance, but we do. We manage it. The distance is not that great, and sometimes I'll just walk over down the Tiger Walk and down the bike trail or just drive over. It's not very far either way.
Okay. You mentioned differences. That's a big topic now between girls and guys. They call it the new segregation. What are the differences that you see between the male and female students?
Well, you know, I am. I'm a product of all girls, an all girls institution. I went to Duchesne Academy in the early '80s, and so I don't really recall there being any emphasis on the ways that girl students learn differently, but I do know that at this age, again, in the teen tween age, 11 to 14 or so, there is a need to separate the genders, and not just because girls learn differently than boys do, but I think that in this technology age and the age of information, I think that students need to have an opportunity to not have to focus on being around the opposite gender in the classroom environment. Not because boys learn at a different rate or have special learning needs or the same is true for girls. I don't think that is necessarily the case. And certainly I could say a lot of things about the benefits of having coeducational learning environments. I mean, there are. I just think that for Wallop it works because we are able to manage which activities girls and boys have an opportunity to join in with each other on, and which opportunities, we remain single gendered in. I don't really know if I'm making any sense here, but it's ask me the question again. I think ask me the question again so I can be like, oh, you're gonna have to edit this.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit it.
Okay.
The learning differences. Have you seen any learning differences between the two sexes?
No, but you know what, and let me go back because I do believe Leonard Sachs wrote a very interesting book called Boys Adrift, and he also wrote a book for girls called Girls on the Edge. And while I'm not an adherent to any literature by any theorist who proposes, or for that matter, who is against single-gendered education, there's one thing that Dr. Sachs said that was really, really interesting to me, and that was that for the most part, African American youth or youth who tend to be from lower working class income families tend to start school too early. And because they start school relatively early, by the time they get to be this age group, they're a little bit burned out on school. And we don't really take into account a lot of the times the stress, having to get up early in the morning, having to be at school all day. We don't really take into account the physiological needs of students at this age. And I think that by the time students get here, it's true that there is some amount of burnout that needs to be taken into consideration. But I also think that at Wallop we offset a lot of that by just creating environments within the classrooms wherein students have an opportunity to learn at their own paces. We do press a very rigorous curriculum, but students have an opportunity, because the classes are smaller, to work in smaller groups or have one-on-one attention with their faculty members. That makes it a little bit different than a traditional co-ed setting, where there are more students and where the emphasis is typically standard test driven, state mandated test driven. We do focus on STAR strategies, readiness standards, supporting standards, and we're very familiar with all of the TEKS and other guidelines proposed by the state. But the emphasis here is on genuine learning, acquisition of information, and exploration of the child's own creative desires and who that child wants to be. A child does not know that he or she wants to be a scientist. And while I understand that, we do have a STEM curriculum, and that the state and other programs are focusing more on science and technology related fields, because that's where the money is going to be. Art, expression, physical fitness and athletics, all kinds of pursuits are necessary for students to be exposed to, so that when they do finally have an opportunity to make a decision, they can make an informed decision, and one that is going to help make them feel fulfilled. Not that they were pushed into a decision, but that they came to a conclusion based on a very educated set or very, very, not an educated set of conclusions, but they came to that decision based on what it is that they had been previously exposed to.
Okay. Last question. What are the principles of Wallop Academy?
Okay. Wallop has 3 cornerstones. There is integrity, scholarship, and brotherhood and sisterhood, which work in tandem. Integrity is first, because we've seen throughout history, if we don't have amnesia, we've seen a whole lot of scholars who don't necessarily do things with ethics or with the utmost integrity. And anyone who has a modicum of integrity can use his or her intellect to benefit not only himself and his family, and be held accountable to the responsibility he has to, the global community, but can genuinely understand the power that intelligence and that knowledge has, and exact good change, positive change on families and community and world. So integrity is first and foremost. The second is